European Union ambassadors get details of a post-Brexit trade deal in a Christmas Day briefing led by Michel Barnier. The Queen reflected on the hardships of the pandemic in her Christmas speech in the last hour, as she and Prince Philip broke tradition by remaining at Windsor.
People have risen magnificently to the challenges of the year, and I'm so proud and moved by this quiet, indomitable spirit.
Pope Francis gave his Christmas Day address, urging all nations to share COVID-19 vaccine and calling for peace in war-torn regions. And thousands of lorry drivers are spending Christmas Day in their cabs near Dover as 800 military personnel continue coronavirus testing.
More than 1,000 trucks cannot enter Europe because of European COVID-19 restrictions linked to a new kind of coronavirus. China says it will take measures against unnamed U.S. officials following new U.S. visa restrictions for Chinese officials whose policies are linked to human rights abuses. In Brazil, the mayor of Rio de Janeiro is arrested before leaving office for suspected involvement in illegal payments. And the Kilauea volcano on the Big Island of Hawaii continues to send liquid rock and ash high into the air.
A new variant of the coronavirus said to be more contagious has been raising alarm in the UK. Now the Japanese Health Ministry has announced that the strain has been found in Japan for the first time.
We confirmed on December 25th that 5 people were infected with the new variant of the coronavirus that has been identified in Britain.
The ministry says the infected includes people across a range of ages. They reportedly arrived from Britain at Japanese international airports in the latter half of December. One of them is in his 60s and had mild symptoms, while the rest had none. Ministry officials are investigating how they caught the virus and who had close contact with them. Meanwhile, Japan reported more than 3,800 new coronavirus cases on Friday and 63 deaths. The country has been seeing a surge of infections. So far, over 215,000 people have tested positive and nearly 3,200 lives have been lost. Staying with Japan, Prime Minister Suga Yoshihide has held a news conference and called for the public's cooperation during this holiday season.
This is the time of year when families and friends often get together. But we'd like to ask you to avoid gatherings as much as possible so we can halt the spread of infections during this year-end and New Year. We need your cooperation.
More than 3,000 daily cases have been reported recently across the country. Suga said experts have pointed to dining out as a major cause for the spread.
Limiting business hours for bars and restaurants is said to be the most effective way to prevent infections. We will consider revising the antivirus law to take more efficient measures. That would enable us to punish those who don't abide by regulations while providing subsidies to those who follow the rules.
Suga also announced the government will tighten entry restrictions on travelers from South Africa, where a new variant of the coronavirus has been detected. Those measures are already in force for people coming from the United Kingdom. Japan's health ministry has decided on a list of pre-existing medical conditions that will determine who gets priority for vaccination against COVID-19. Officials estimate that about 8.2 million people will be covered by the plan. That puts them next in line to receive the vaccine after frontline healthcare workers and about 36 million people aged 65 or over. The ministry plans to start by inoculating medical workers around late February. They'll be followed by the elderly in late March and then people with underlying health conditions. A panel of experts on Friday approved the list of conditions submitted by ministry officials. Priority will go to people who are hospitalized or visiting doctors regularly for pre-existing conditions. Those include cancer, chronic heart and respiratory illnesses, kidney disease, and diabetes. They also include neurological diseases due to immunity impairment abnormal chromosomes, serious mental and physical disorders, and sleep apnea. The ministry will not prioritize pregnant women yet due to the lack of data on the safety and efficacy of vaccines for this group. Former Japanese Prime Minister Abe Shinzo has apologized in Parliament over false remarks he made repeatedly to lawmakers about his political funds. The apology came a day after one of his secretaries was convicted of misreporting about $300,000 in connection with parties for Abe supporters.
Today, I would like to explain the facts again at this committee and correct my answers. I would like to offer my deepest apologies to all Diet members.
The issue concerns annual parties held the night before cherry blossom events sponsored by the government. The cost of the parties spanning 2015 to 2019 came to about $220,000. Abe's office covered at least one-third of the total. Some critics say the payments were a violation of the law. Opposition members on Friday grilled Abe, repeatedly asking him how he would take responsibility for over 100 incorrect comments he had made in the Diet.
Don't you think you should resign as a lawmaker, judging by the compliance standards of private sector executives?
I answered to the best of my knowledge after asking my secretaries. But I have sole responsibility for the wrong answers in the Diet. I will make every effort to regain public trust.
The opposition lawmakers demanded Abe step down from his Diet post to take responsibility. They also called on him to give sworn testimony to the Diet. The legal case over the issue was finalized on Thursday when Abe's aide paid a fine of about $10,000 without any arrest or open trial. A group of lawyers who brought the criminal complaint says the prosecution has failed to carry out a thorough investigation. They say they'll consider asking an inquest panel to review the prosecutor's decision. A South Korean Defense Ministry source says the Navy and Coast Guard held a drill around the Takeshima Islands in the Sea of Japan earlier this month. Tokyo claims the islands, but Seoul controls them, calling them Tokto. The source said on Friday the ships took part in the regular drill on December 4th. Japan's chief cabinet secretary said his government immediately lodged a strong protest with Seoul.
If South Korea conducted a drill in connection with Takeshima, it is unacceptable and extremely regrettable. The islands are clearly an inherent part of Japan's territory in light of historical facts and international law.
The South Korean military conducts the exercise twice a year to practice tactics aimed at preventing people and vessels from landing on the islands. But the source says the latest drill did not involve a landing exercise due to the coronavirus. A previous one in June followed the same pattern. And one last story. Pope Francis celebrated Christmas Eve Mass at Vatican City with fewer participants than usual due to the coronavirus pandemic. The 84-year-old pontiff led the Mass at St. Peter's Basilica. The event was live-streamed on the internet. The number of participants was limited to about 100 this year to prevent infection. They wore masks and practiced social distancing. Usually thousands of the Catholic faithful attend the midnight Mass. 2 Vatican cardinals are reported to have contracted the virus. A nationwide lockdown was reimposed in Italy on Thursday. The country's death toll has topped 70,000, the highest in Europe.
CDC is out with a stunning new prediction this morning, saying the coronavirus death toll is expected to surpass more than 415,000 by the middle of January. Meanwhile, California is the first state to surpass 2 million confirmed COVID cases, and the crisis is straining hospitals far beyond normal capacity. So far, just 1 million people have been vaccinated, not even close to the government's goal of 20 million by New Year's Day. All of this as millions of Americans are struggling financially, waiting for help from the government. And the fate of the COVID relief bill is hanging in the balance. ABC's Rachel Scott has the details.
Overnight, the $900 billion coronavirus relief bill flown to Florida, where President Trump is spending the holidays. But it's still unclear if he will sign it. Just days before Christmas, blasting the stimulus package, his own team helped negotiate.
It really is a disgrace.
The president taking to the golf course while relief for millions hangs in limbo. This Christmas, many Americans are barely scraping by. Angela Moore had COVID-19, then she lost her job. Now holding her breath, waiting to see if that critical aid comes through.
I just feel like we've been treated like a yo-yo, like we're being pawned between, Republicans, Democrats, and the president. And it's going to be too late.
In just 24 hours, 14 million will lose unemployment benefits. The federal moratorium on evictions expires next week, and the government will shut down on Monday.
I beg the president to know how many people in this country are scared.
The president demanded Congress increase the amount of the stimulus checks from $600 to $2,000. Democrats in the House tried to quickly meet that request on Thursday. Republicans rejected it. GOP Senator Roy Blunt saying it would be a mistake to try and renegotiate.
I hope the president looks at this again and reaches that conclusion that the best thing to do is to sign the bill.
The president is now using the crisis to fundraise, sending out this email asking supporters to donate, to send a message to Congress that the American people deserve better. But a group of bipartisan lawmakers releasing this statement, saying the best way to do that is for the president to sign the bill, calling it the best possible Christmas gift to the American people. Rachel Scott, ABC News, Washington.
The pandemic is changing the way many people are celebrating on this Christmas Day. In New York, a scaled-down Christmas Mass at St. Patrick's Cathedral. Only about 500 worshipers were able to attend the typically packed event. And at the Vatican, Pope Francis presided over a Mass held to comply with a countrywide Italian curfew. The changes also affecting one of the most famous families in the world, the Windsors. ABC's Maggie Rulli has more.
All across the UK at 6 o'clock on Christmas Eve, thousands came to their doorsteps to spread holiday cheer, showing that even though London was plunged into a full lockdown just days before Christmas, we are not alone in our isolation. This year, traditions are changing, and the world's finding a way to come together to celebrate a different kind of Christmas. The Pope's Christmas Eve Mass, normally packed with the faithful at the Vatican, now virtual. The royal family, normally the British photo op of the season as they walk into church on Christmas Day, won't make their iconic trip to Sandringham for the first time in 32 years. Like other families in the UK, they will be celebrating apart. Harry and Meghan spending the week in California, the couple's holiday card this year, their first since moving to America.
My grandfather broadcast the first of these Christmas messages.
One royal tradition we can count on, the Queen's annual Christmas Day message, joining people in their homes on Christmas since 1952.
With all my heart.
A world determined to keep living despite the toll the virus has taken this year. Bethlehem still lighting the manger, even though there are no worshipers inside. And inside the Notre Dame Cathedral, for the first time since the fire almost burned it to the ground, a Christmas performance, a moment of hope for the whole world to celebrate this Christmas Day. And we know so many of you are trying to find ways to celebrate together while staying far apart, whether it's smaller Christmas dinners, extra long phone calls. I'm doing a virtual game night with my family back in America. And Eva, please put that cute dog Walter of yours in a Christmas sweater, put him up on Instagram. The world needs to see it. You know, everyone doing what they can to spread safely some Christmas cheer so that hopefully next year we can have bigger Christmas celebrations again. Eva?
Maggie, really, thank you.